Have you ever wondered how far a father could go when his heart turns cold and his soul is chained by alcohol and bitterness? In a forgotten corner of the South, where red dust clings to every footstep and hunger knocks on too many doors, lived a young woman named Gloria Johnson. She was only 22, but her weary eyes carried the shadow of 100 lifetimes. Since her mother's passing 5 years earlier, Gloria had not known peace. Her father, Marcus Johnson, once a kind farmer, had become a man consumed by liquor and rage. As if fate had not been cruel enough, he brought home a new wife, Patricia, a sharp-tongued woman whose hatred for Gloria burned brighter than the midday sun. Together, they made her life unbearable. She cooked, cleaned, fetched water, tended the fields, and slept on an old mat with an empty stomach. The neighbors pitied her, whispering about her suffering, yet no one dared to step in. Marcus was feared in the village, his drunken fury enough to silence even the boldest tongue. It was into this life of misery that Eric Williams entered. Eric was 25, a young man from the city, who came seeking work on Marcus's small farm. His clothes were worn, his shoes cracked, but his hands were strong, and his eyes carried the determination of survival. For 3 long months, he labored under the scorching sun, clearing fields, planting rows of corn and cassava, carrying loads that bent his back but not his spirit. Yet each week, when Eric humbly asked for the wages he had earned, Marcus waved him off with empty promises. Next week. Tomorrow. When I sell something, he would say. But tomorrow never came. One sweltering afternoon, sweat dripping down his brow, Eric walked into the yard, his patience fraying. Gloria was there, bent over with a broom in her hands, her face tired, her body fragile yet enduring. Eric turned to Marcus, his voice steady but urgent. "Sir, I cannot wait any longer. Please, I need my pay today." Marcus scratched his unshaven chin, his eyes darting around as if searching for an answer. Then his gaze landed on Gloria. A cruel smile crept across his face. He let out a laugh that made Gloria's stomach twist. "You want money?" he sneered. "Yes, sir," Eric replied, gripping his hands together. 3 months of work. Please pay me what you owe." Marcus leaned back, lifted his chin, and pointed straight at his daughter. "Take her instead. That's your payment." The broom slipped from Gloria's hands. Her heart stopped. "Take who?" Eric asked, stunned. "My daughter," Marcus said, his voice thick with malice. "She is good for nothing. Let her go with you to the city. That will settle your wages." "Daddy, please," Gloria cried, falling to her knees, tears burning her eyes. "Don't do this! Shut up!" Marcus thundered, his words sharp as a whip. "You should be grateful someone even wants you." From the corner, Patricia folded her arms and smiled with satisfaction. "Good," she said coldly. "Let her go. One less mouth to feed." Gloria's sobs filled the yard, her hands trembling as she begged. But no one listened. No one cared. Her father's face was stone, her stepmother's eyes cruel. She was nothing more than a burden in their home. Eric stood frozen, caught between anger and disbelief. He looked at Gloria, broken yet radiant in her quiet strength. Something in her spirit touched him deeply. Beneath the dust and tears, she was still beautiful, but it was more than her face. It was her soul. "She's beautiful," he whispered under his breath. "What did you say?" Marcus barked. Eric drew in a breath. "I'll take her." And in that moment, Gloria's life changed forever. With tears blurring her vision, she packed the few clothes she owned into a torn plastic bag. No one embraced her. No blessing was spoken over her. Only her little half-brother Samuel stood hidden behind the wooden shack, his tiny hands waving as silent sobs shook his body. Gloria wanted to run to him to hold him, but Marcus's glare cut that wish away. She stepped out of the yard, her heart heavy, her knees weak. Behind her, the house she once called home loomed like a prison gate closing for good. Ahead, Eric waited, his expression unreadable. He led her toward the dusty road where a bus rattled to a stop. As the bus pulled away, Gloria pressed her face against the window. fields of red earth blurred into streaks of sorrow. The only life she had ever known was slipping away behind her, yet she could not tell if what lay ahead was freedom or another cage. Inside her, a single prayer rose. Lord, please, if this man is not like my father, let me find peace. I am tired. I just want peace. Eric sat beside her silent, staring at the road stretching endlessly before them. His hands were calloused, his shoulders bent, but his silence was not cruel. Every now and then he glanced at her, his chest heavy with thoughts unspoken. And so began a journey neither of them could have predicted, a journey born not of love, but of desperation. A journey that would test the meaning of loyalty, dignity, and the kind of love that cannot be bought or sold. The bus rattled over cracked asphalt as fields gave way to long stretches of pine and billboard shadows. Gloria held her plastic bag to her chest, as if it were a shield. Every bump in the road knocked loose another memory. Her mother humming at dawn. The way laughter used to live in their kitchen. The night it died. She closed her eyes and whispered a quiet prayer that wove through the sound of tires and wind. Eric sat beside her, hands folded, gaze steady on the horizon. He did not push for conversation. He did not offer hollow comfort. He simply occupied the space like a wall that would not move. That steadiness puzzled her. Men she knew were either loud or cruel or both. This one wore his silence like a coat. By dusk, the road began to shine with city light. Neon spilled across gas stations and storefronts. Lines of traffic blinked red and white like living rivers. The bus groaned as it turned onto a wide avenue. Buildings rose ahead, glass catching the last fire of the sun. Gloria pulled her bag closer. She had never seen so many windows. They stepped down at a crowded station where voices stacked on top of one another. Eric led her through the press of people with gentle gestures. This way. Careful. Stay close. He did not touch her unless he had to, and when he did, his hand only brushed the air near her elbow, as if asking permission. They took a small tricycle cab down a narrow lane that smelled of wet earth and lemon soap. Bougainvillea spilled over a wall in purple waves. Children chased a deflated ball. A woman rinsed rice in a plastic bowl and sang softly to a baby on her hip. The cab stopped before a tall black gate. Eric paid the driver and looked at Gloria. I want you to see where I live, he said quietly. The gate opened to a wide compound swept clean enough to reflect the moon. A large house sat in the center, white and calm with warm light at the windows. Gloria swallowed hard. This looked like a picture from a magazine a teacher had once shown in class. Eric did not lead her to the main door. He walked her along a side path lined with hibiscus until they reached a smaller building behind the house. This is mine, he said. It is simple, but it is safe. He unlocked the door. The room smelled faintly of soap and ground pepper. There was a small sofa, a neat table, a narrow bed made with clean sheets, a fan that hummed softly from the ceiling. A window looked out onto a strip of garden where a single palm leaf tapped the glass. Gloria let the bag slip to the floor. Her hands found her face. Her shoulders shook once, then again. She did not mean to cry. Relief does not always ask for permission. Eric stood near the door and waited. When her breathing settled, he spoke. You can have the bed. I will take the sofa. If you need anything, tell me. He walked to the kitchen corner and set a pot to boil. A few minutes later, he passed her a cup of tea sweetened with honey. The first sip drew a sigh from deep inside her chest. Thank you, she said. You are safe here, he answered. Night gathered at the window. Somewhere a radio played a hymn. Eric ate a small dinner at the table while Gloria sat on the bed. He did not ask her to join him. He did not ask her to talk. He did not ask anything at all. When he finished, he rinsed the bowl and wiped the table until it shone. Later, she lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling. The fan pushed the warm air in slow circles. She listened for the shouts that usually came with night. None arrived. No bottle slammed the table. No footsteps rushed down a hall. Her body kept waiting for a blow that did not fall. After a while, the waiting eased. In the quiet, a thought bloomed. Maybe peace could sound like this. A fan. A hymn. The faint clink of a dish placed on a shelf. She turned on her side. The sheet felt cool against her legs. Sleep found her like a gentle tide. Just before dawn, Gloria woke to the soft scrape of a chair. Eric was already up, tying his shoes, moving quietly. She sat up, startled, then relaxed. "I start early," he said. "There is a job I must keep. I will be nearby all day. If anyone troubles you, you call my name." She nodded. "Do you trust me to lock the door?" she asked. "I do." He stepped outside to the small stoop. The air smelled of dew and coffee drifting from somewhere near. He paused. "One more thing," he added, looking back at her. "Whatever happened before today, it ends here. This is a new beginning if you want it." After he left, she stood in the doorway and watched the compound slowly wake. A sprinkler ticked across the grass. Sunlight touched the top of the White House and slid down the walls like warm paint. Gloria washed her face in the tiny bathroom and combed her hair with her fingers. In the mirror, she found a face that looked almost rested. She opened the window and breathed in the morning. Birds stitched quick patterns across the sky. Down the path, a gardener clipped hedges with patient rhythm. She made the bed and smoothed the blanket as if polishing a blessing. Then she sat at the table and folded her hands. For the first time in years, her prayer had more gratitude than fear. As evening settled, the world outside glowed amber. Gloria stepped into the yard and listened to the city breathing beyond the walls. She did not know what tomorrow would bring. Doubt still moved around the edges of her mind, but as she turned back toward the little room that now held her life, a single truth rose bright and clear. For the first time in a very long time, hope had found a place to sleep. She let herself breathe and believe again. The morning sun spread across the compound in golden bands. Gloria stepped out of the little room, the hem of her dress brushing the stone path. The air carried the smell of cut grass and fresh bread drifting from a nearby kitchen. She had not felt such calm in years. Each sound was gentle, each movement unthreatening. She touched the doorframe with her fingertips, as if to be sure it was real. Eric returned from his shift at the front gate. His shirt clung to his back, and sweat glistened on his forehead, but his eyes were steady. He paused when he saw her waiting outside. "Good morning," he said, voice softer than she expected. "Good morning," she answered, a little shy. He smiled faintly and walked past her into the small kitchen. A moment later, the smell of eggs and onions filled the air. Gloria stepped closer, unsure. She was used to cooking for everyone else, used to being ordered about, never asked what she wanted. Yet here was a man at the stove turning food in a pan, humming low. "Sit," he told her gently. "I will serve you." She lowered herself onto the chair, watching him with quiet wonder. When he placed the plate before her, her eyes watered. It was simple, but it was warm, and it was for her. After breakfast, Eric looked at her with careful thought. "I want you to meet someone today. Dress neatly, nothing too fancy." Her heart pounded. "Meet who? You will see. Just trust me." She changed into her best dress, the one piece of clothing not patched at the seams. She brushed her hair until it shone faintly in the morning light. Her stomach twisted as they walked up the path toward the main house. The tall black door opened, revealing an elegant woman in her late 50s. She wore a flowing robe the color of cream and pearls at her neck. Her eyes were kind, her presence calm. "Good morning, Ma," Eric greeted, bowing his head slightly. "Good morning, Harrison. And who is this beautiful young woman?" "This is Gloria, my wife," Eric replied without hesitation. Gloria froze. The word wife hung in the air like a bell. She lowered her gaze, unsure if she should correct him, unsure if she even wanted to. Mrs. Walker stepped forward and took Gloria's hand. "So this is the wife you spoke about. She is lovely. Come inside, my dear." Gloria followed, her eyes wide. The living room gleamed with polished wood and silver-framed pictures. Soft music floated from a corner. Everything spoke of wealth and care, yet Mrs. Walker's grip on her hand was warm, not distant. "You are welcome here," Mrs. Walker said kindly. "I like you already. You have a gentle spirit. This house is big enough for peace, and you should feel at home." "Thank you, Ma." Gloria whispered, her voice trembling. "You may call me Mrs. Walker. If you need anything, tell me." After a short conversation about simple things, cooking, gardens, the weather, they returned to the small house behind the compound. Gloria's heart was racing. "Why did you call me your wife?" she asked Eric softly that evening as they sat together. "Because you are," he answered without flinching. "I do not want anyone to treat you as less. You deserve honor, Gloria." Her throat tightened. No one had ever spoken to her that way. She lowered her eyes, remembering the years of being told she was worthless. Now a man spoke of her as a wife, a queen even, and something inside her shifted. Later, as she sat on the edge of the bed, she let her thoughts spill out. "When my father gave me away, I thought my life was over. I thought you would treat me like a slave. But you gave me space. You respected me. You even cooked for me." Tears fell freely now. "I want to tell you thank you. I no longer regret coming here." Eric knelt before her, looking straight into her eyes. "I would never hurt you. That is not the kind of man I want to be. Do you know something? The first day I saw you working in the field, I admired you. I wanted to ask for your hand, but I was afraid. I thought your father would reject me. When he offered you as payment, I was shocked, but deep inside I felt it was God opening a door." Gloria's lips parted, but no words came. She wiped her cheeks and whispered, "I do not love you yet, Eric." He smiled gently. "I know, and I am not rushing you, but I will treat you as if you are already the most precious woman in the world." Something fragile but strong bloomed in her chest. Respect, trust, a peace she had never known. She laughed softly through her tears. "You make me feel like a queen." "Because you are," he said simply. "You are a queen hidden too long in the wrong palace." That night, Gloria lay awake listening to the steady rhythm of his breath from the sofa. For the first time, she felt seen, not as a burden, not as a servant, but as a woman with worth. She closed her eyes with a small smile. In the quiet, a new chapter had begun. The morning after her visit to the main house, Gloria opened her eyes to a glow that felt almost unreal. Sunlight spilled gently through the curtain, painting lines of gold across the little room. For years, she had dreaded morning because it meant more work, more shouting, more hunger. Now she lay on a clean sheet with silence so soft she hardly recognized it. She pressed her palm to her chest and whispered, "Thank you, Lord, for letting me wake without fear." From the kitchen came the sound of oil sizzling. She rose quickly, startled by the unfamiliar smell of food being cooked by someone else. When she stepped into the kitchen, Eric was there at the stove, turning eggs and onions with practiced ease. His shoulders were broad, his head slightly bowed as he hummed a tune under his breath. "Good morning," she said quietly. He turned and smiled. "Morning, Gloria. Did you sleep well?" Like a baby, she answered, her lips curving in a shy smile. "Good," he said. "Sit down." "I made breakfast." She hesitated, unused to being served, then slowly lowered herself into the chair. The food was simple bread toasted in butter, eggs with onions, a small cup of tea, but to her, it was a feast. When he placed the plate in front of her, her eyes grew wet. For years, she had cooked for others and eaten last, often left with scraps. Now a man had cooked for her. After a few bites, Eric looked across the table. "I want you to meet someone again today." "Who?" she asked, setting her fork down. "You will see," he replied with a small smile. "Just wear something neat and simple." Her stomach tightened, but she nodded. She returned to the bedroom and pulled from her bag the only dress without patches. Eric noticed and handed her a soft gown he had bought from the market. "Wear this," he said kindly. "It will suit you." When she emerged, brushed hair framing her face, he gave a small nod of approval. They walked together up the path toward the main house. The tall black door opened, and Mrs. Walker greeted them warmly, her robe flowing and her pearls shining in the morning sun. "Harrison," she said, using the name she alone seemed to use for Eric. "And who is this lovely young woman?" "This is Gloria, my wife," Eric said calmly. The word wife echoed in Gloria's ears. She glanced at him, confused but strangely comforted. Mrs. Walker stepped forward, her eyes soft. "So this is the wife you told me about. She is even lovelier than you described. Come inside, child." The living room shone with polished floors and well-kept furniture. Gloria had never seen such wealth, but it was not the gold frames or velvet chairs that struck her most. It was the warmth in Mrs. Walker's eyes. "You are welcome here," she said. "This house is big enough for peace. If you need anything, tell me." "Thank you, Ma," Gloria whispered, her voice trembling. After some gentle talk about food and family, they returned to the small quarters. That evening, Gloria sat on the bed, her hands folded tight. Eric was fixing a loose drawer handle when she spoke. "Eric, may I tell you something?" "Of course," he said, turning to her. Her throat ached as words spilled out. "When my father gave me to you, I felt worthless. I thought you would treat me as he did, with shouting and blows. I feared you would use me and cast me aside." Her eyes filled. "But you did not. You gave me space, you respected me, you even cooked for me. I want to thank you." He set the drawer aside and sat beside her, his eyes steady on hers. "I would never hurt you, Gloria. That is not who I am. Let me tell you something. From the first day I saw you on the farm, I admired you. I wanted to ask for your hand, but I was afraid. I thought your father would laugh at me. When he offered you as payment, I was shocked. But deep inside, I believed it was a door opening." Gloria's tears slipped down her cheeks. "I do not love you yet," she admitted softly. He reached for her hand. "I know. And I am not asking you to. Love takes time." She looked at him, trembling. "But I like how you treat me. Like I matter. Like I am not a mistake. Like I am a queen." "Because you are a queen," he said firmly. "You were only hidden in the wrong palace." Her lips curved in a laugh mixed with tears. The sound startled her. It had been years since laughter escaped so freely. Later that night, she lay on the bed while Eric rested on the sofa. The fan turned slow circles above them. The silence was warm, not heavy. She listened to the steady rhythm of his breathing and felt her heart soften. Not love yet, but the seeds of something greater: respect, trust, and peace. As sleep drew her in, she whispered a prayer. "Lord, if this is the path you set for me, let me walk it with courage." When dawn came, she opened her eyes to find hope sitting beside her like a faithful friend. She rose, drew back the curtain, and let the light flood the room. For the first time in years, she believed her life was not ending, but only beginning. The third morning after Gloria's visit to the main house, the compound breathed. A truck idled by the gate clippers ticked in the hedges, and a piano traced scales. Gloria tied on an apron and carried a basket of vegetables into the kitchen. She set the basket down and reached for a knife. The door opened behind her. A tall, well-dressed man stepped in with the ease of someone born to rooms like this. "Good afternoon," he said. "You must be Gloria." Good afternoon, she answered, turning to the board. Her hands were steady, though her shoulders tightened. I am Daniel Walker, he said, moving closer to the light. My mother spoke of you. Helpful, respectful, gifted in the kitchen. Thank you, she said, eyes on the tomatoes. Do not be so modest, he replied, leaning against the counter. He did not touch her, but he crowded the air. His gaze traveled her face, then lingered on her hands. You are even more beautiful than she said. Gloria set down the knife. Thank you, sir. Please, he said with a small laugh. Call me Daniel. Sir is proper, she answered, lifting the blade again. He watched her slice with a relaxed smile. People who come here often find their lives changing quickly, he said. The right door opens and the world tilts in your favor. My world already feels different, she said. I am grateful for peace. Peace is good, he said. Peace without comfort is a quiet struggle. What if you had both? I am content to work and learn. He tapped the counter. I can help you learn faster. I can sponsor college. Not just night classes. Real programs. Anywhere. Nursing, business, medicine. I know people who make paths straight. She placed the slices in a neat row. I appreciate that, Daniel, but I am not looking for a different path. He tilted his head, still smiling. I mean with me, Gloria. Be my girl. You are wasting your time with Eric. He is decent, but he cannot give you the life you deserve. I can. I will put a phone in your hand, a car under you, and a key to your own place. She met his eyes. I am married. Married is a word, he said. Happiness is a life. You are young. Do not lock yourself to a man who cannot open doors. I will not discuss this, she said softly. Daniel pushed away from the counter and circled the island. Do you know who I am? People do not tell me no in my own home. This is Mrs. Walker's home, Gloria replied. His jaw tightened, then smoothed. You are bold. I like that. Consider what I am offering. I can speak to my mother today. Eric can be transferred or released. One word and your new life begins. Heat rose in her cheeks. I stand with my husband. That will not change. He studied her, then laughed softly. You will change your mind. When he left, the kitchen felt bigger. Gloria leaned on the counter until her breath slowed. She finished the prep and stood in the pantry until her pulse calmed. That evening, she sat with Eric on the stoop outside their room. She told him everything, repeating Daniel's words without adding heat. Eric frowned, then managed a smile. Daniel talks too much, he said. He likes to show off. He will get bored and stop. He made promises, she said. School, a car, a key. Eric rubbed a rough line on his palm. He will try to impress you, but you are not like the others. He said he could have you moved, she added, or released. Eric's mouth tightened. He will not do that, he said, though a thin thread of worry pulled at his voice. Gloria touched his sleeve. I told him no. I told him I am proud of my husband. I will not leave you. Worry turned to warmth in his eyes. Thank you, he said. Thank you for standing with me. We stand together, she replied. That is the only way forward. For a few days, Daniel stayed out of the kitchen. Gloria let herself believe it was over. She wrote recipes in a small notebook, learned which vendor brought the best produce, and memorized how Mrs. Walker liked her tea. On the fourth day, the door opened again. Daniel entered with a paper bag and set it near the sink. He took out a new phone still in its box and placed it by the board. He set down an envelope with bills. This is a gift, he said lightly. No strings, only possibilities. I cannot accept it, Gloria said. Of course you can. Everyone accepts gifts. I am not everyone. Then accept a truth, he said. You are special. You deserve more than a small room and a tired man. Step into the life that is waiting for you. It is not betrayal if it is destiny. Gloria slid the phone back toward him. My destiny is to honor my vows. His smile cooled. He put the phone in the bag, but he left the envelope where it lay. Keep that for emergencies, he said. When you change your mind, you will know where to find me. He left without waiting for a reply. Gloria held the envelope like a coal and carried it to the little room. She set it on the table and told Eric detail by detail. He listened, then walked to the window and stared at the hedge. Finally, he turned. I do not want to fight my family, he said, but I will not let anyone insult my wife. Then we speak to your mother together, she answered. Tomorrow. He nodded. Tomorrow. The compound lights blinked on. Gloria placed the envelope in a drawer and closed it. Outside, crickets tuned the night. Inside, she breathed until her heart steadied. Pressure was coming. She would meet it standing. Now. The next morning, Gloria rose early. She washed her face, tied her hair back, and stood before the mirror in the small room. Her reflection looked calm, but beneath the surface, her heart raced. She had carried Daniel's words like a heavy stone all night. She could not remain silent any longer. If she wanted peace, she would have to speak. Eric was already at work in the compound, so she walked the narrow path to the main house alone. The air was cool, the grass wet with dew. She climbed the steps and knocked gently on the black door. Mrs. Walker opened it herself. Her robe was neatly tied, her pearl earrings glinting in the morning light. Gloria bowed her head. Good morning, Ma. May I speak with you? Of course, child, Mrs. Walker said warmly, though her eyes searched Gloria's face with curiosity. Come in. They sat in the living room, sunlight falling across polished floors. Gloria folded her hands tightly in her lap. It is about Daniel, she said softly, her voice steady but trembling at the edges. Mrs. Walker's smile faded. Daniel. What about him? Gloria lifted her chin. He has been disturbing me. He comes into the kitchen. He says things that make me uncomfortable. He told me to leave my husband and be with him. He promised money, a car, even college abroad. He said he could have Eric removed from this place. Mrs. Walker leaned back slowly, her face unreadable. He said all that. Yes, Ma. I respect you and this house, but I cannot keep quiet. I want you to know the truth. Silence stretched. Then Mrs. Walker sighed, tapping her fingers on the armrest. Gloria, you are a beautiful and wise young woman. Perhaps my son simply sees your potential. Gloria's brows drew together. Potential. Yes, Mrs. Walker continued. You want an education, do you not? Daniel can give you that. He can open doors Eric never will. You could have comfort, success, everything you dream of. Even your husband could benefit if you chose wisely. We could pay him off, set him up somewhere. Gloria's eyes widened. Ma, with all respect, I am not that kind of woman. Mrs. Walker's expression sharpened. I am not saying leave him cruelly. I am saying think of your future. You are still young. Do not tie yourself down to poverty when opportunity is in front of you. Gloria rose to her feet, her voice clear. I did not marry Eric for money. I married him because when the world turned its back on me, he stood beside me. When my own father gave me away, like nothing, he gave me dignity. I will not betray him. Tears stung her eyes, but she did not lower her voice. I would rather quit this job than stay in a place where I am pushed to sell myself. I will not be with a man I do not love. I will never betray my husband. Mrs. Walker's mouth opened, but Gloria lifted her hand gently. I am sorry, Ma, but I am done here. If Daniel does not stop, we will leave this compound. I cannot live where respect is absent. She turned and walked out quickly, her steps firm though her chest burned with emotion. Once outside, she wiped her cheeks and lifted her head high. The compound that had once felt like a haven now seemed heavy with judgment and temptation. Yet she knew she had chosen rightly. When she reached the small house, she entered to find Eric sitting on the bench outside, his hands folded. He looked up at her face red with tears. "What happened?" he asked softly. Gloria sat beside him, breath still sharp. "I told her everything. About Daniel. About his promises. About his threats." "And what did she say?" Gloria shook her head. "She said maybe I should consider him. That he could give me more than you ever will." Eric's eyes darkened, his jaw tightening. "And what did you say?" "I told her no. I told her I will never betray you, that I would rather leave this house than take a life of comfort without love." Eric's shoulders dropped and he reached for her hands. "Thank you, Gloria. Thank you for standing with me." "You stood by me first," she whispered. "Now it is my turn." He pulled her close, his voice thick. "I will protect you. No matter what comes, we will face it together." That night they prayed side by side. Their voices rose softly in the small room, asking for strength, asking for peace. When they lay down afterward, silence filled the space. Not silence of fear, but silence of unity. Outside, Daniel moved through the shadows of the compound, his eyes restless, his pride wounded. Inside, Gloria rested her head near Eric's shoulder, her heart steady. Pressure had come, but she had not broken. The fire of temptation had tried to burn her, but her faith and loyalty stood firm. For the first time, she realized that love was no longer a seed. It was blooming, fragile, but undeniable, rooted deep in the soil of trust. 2 days passed after the confrontation with Mrs. Walker. Gloria moved through her work, quietly keeping her head down. She avoided the main house unless necessary, and when she did, she carried herself with firm dignity. Inside, she still burned from the words she had heard. Yet every night, when she knelt to pray beside Eric, peace returned little by little. On the third morning, she opened the door to find both Mrs. Walker and Daniel standing outside. Their faces were solemn. Gloria hesitated, unsure whether to speak, but Mrs. Walker's voice was gentle. "Good morning, my daughter. May we come in?" Gloria stepped back. The little room suddenly felt too small as they entered. Mrs. Walker sat at the table while Daniel leaned against the wall, his hands folded. "We came to apologize," Mrs. Walker said, "for what my son said, for what I said too. We were wrong." Daniel lowered his head. "I was foolish. Pride blinded me. But I see it now. Harrison is lucky." "You are a rare woman, Gloria," Mrs. Walker nodded. "You are our wife, Gloria. We see it clearly now." Gloria studied them, suspicion clouding her thoughts. She wanted to believe, but her heart still ached. She forced a small smile and said, "Thank you, Ma. I forgive you." They left after a few more words, but as the door closed, Gloria sat on the bed, confused. Their voices had sounded sincere, but something unsettled her. She replayed Mrs. Walker's final words. "You are our wife. Not Eric's wife. Our wife." That evening, when Eric returned, he looked tired but peaceful. Gloria turned sharply toward him. "Where have you been all day?" "I was waiting for you." He placed his bag down and met her eyes. "There is something I need to tell you." Her stomach knotted. "Tell me what?" He took her hands gently. "Gloria, I am sorry." "For what?" "For lying to you." Her breath caught. "About what?" Eric sat down, his voice steady but quiet. "Daniel is not just Mrs. Walker's son. He is my younger brother. And Mrs. Walker is not just my employer, she is my mother." Gloria's mouth opened, but no words came. She stepped back as if the floor had tilted. What did you say? I am not a poor security guard, Gloria. My family is wealthy. My mother owns this house. I came here because I wanted to live simply away from the weight of money. I wanted to see if someone could love me for me, not for what I have. Gloria pressed her hands to her temples. All this time. You let me think you were a guard. You let me struggle with fear and shame. I never meant to hurt you, Eric said quickly. I have been hurt before. Women came close to me only for wealth. I needed to know if someone could see me without the money. Her chest heaved. You lied to me. Yes, he said, eyes lowered. But I did it to protect my heart. Please forgive me. Silence filled the room, heavy and sharp. Then Gloria sat slowly on the edge of the bed. She looked at him for a long time. Finally, she spoke, her voice trembling but steady. You should not have lied, but I cannot deny what I have seen with my own eyes. You treated me with respect before I knew the truth. You cooked for me, protected me, listened to me. Those things were real. Her tears spilled freely. I loved the man who gave me dignity, not the title or the wealth. If that man is the same one sitting here now, then I forgive you. Eric's shoulders shook with relief. He knelt before her. I promise no more secrets, no more lies. She touched his face gently. You owe me a mansion and a car for all this, she whispered with a weak laugh. His laughter filled the room, lightening the air. Consider it done, my queen. They embraced, the weight of hidden truth finally lifted. For the first time, no walls stood between them. The news traveled fast. In the village, Marcus Johnson nearly dropped his bottle of liquor when he heard. His daughter, the girl he had thrown away, was married to a man of wealth and influence. He fumbled for his phone and called, his voice trembling with false humility. My daughter, please forgive me. I was blind. I did not know God had blessed you like this. Gloria held the phone, her face calm. I forgive you, but I will not return to your house. I suffered too much under your roof. If you ever need help for something important, you may call. But do not call me for nonsense. Take care of your wife and leave me in peace. Before he could reply, she ended the call. She set the phone down and whispered, Thank you, Lord, for giving me a new life. That night, she sat beside Eric under the silver light of the moon. He took her hand, his eyes glistening. You are everything I prayed for, and you are the man I never thought existed, she replied softly. Their lips met in a kiss, not born of pity or duty, but of love purified by trial. In that moment, they knew their journey had only begun, but together they were strong enough for whatever came next. Years passed, and the rhythm of Gloria's life changed like the seasons. The girl once thrown away by her father now walked with steady steps toward her dreams. She studied late into the night, her books spread across the table pages, filled with notes and determination. Eric supported her tirelessly. He worked, he encouraged, and when she doubted herself, he reminded her that she was capable of anything. One bright afternoon, the sound of applause thundered across the courtyard of a grand university. Gloria walked across the stage in a white coat, her head held high, her eyes glistening with tears. She had become Dr. Gloria Johnson Williams, a physician with knowledge in her hands and compassion in her heart. In the audience, Eric rose to his feet, clapping louder than anyone. That is my wife, he shouted, his voice breaking with pride. Gloria smiled wide as she held her diploma. After the ceremony, she found Eric waiting near the steps. He wrapped his arms around her tightly. I am so proud of you, he whispered. Thank you for believing in me, she said softly, pressing her face against his shoulder. Without you, I could not have done this. No, he said firmly. You always had this inside you. I only reminded you of who you are. The following years brought blessings they had once only dared to dream about. Eric took her on a quiet drive one sunny afternoon. The car turned into a gated estate lined with tall oaks. At the end of the road stood a white mansion with golden trim. Gloria looked around confused. "Where are we?" Eric smiled and handed her a set of keys. "This is yours, my queen. I promised you a mansion and a car. Today I deliver both." Her hands shook as she took the keys. She laughed, tears streaming down her cheeks. Eric stopped playing. "I am serious," he said, pulling her close. "This house is yours. This life is yours." She embraced him, her laughter turning into sobs of joy. They walked inside, their footsteps echoing across marble floors. Room after room stretched wide, but to Gloria, it was not the size of the walls that mattered. It was the fact that she had built this life not by selling her dignity, but by guarding it. Weeks later, Gloria sat with Eric on the balcony of the new house sipping tea as the evening breeze rustled the trees. She placed her hand on his arm. "I have something to tell you," she said with a shy smile. "What is it, my love?" "I went for a test last week," she whispered. "I am 3 months pregnant." Eric froze, then his face broke into joy. "Gloria, are you serious?" "Yes," she laughed, her eyes glowing. "We are going to have a baby." He lifted her off the chair and spun her around, his laughter echoing into the night. He knelt, kissed her stomach, and whispered, "Daddy loves you already." Gloria cupped his face, her eyes wet. From being rejected to becoming cherished, from being discarded to becoming a queen, her journey had come full circle. She looked at the stars and whispered, "Thank you, Lord. You lifted me from the ashes and crowned me with glory." As the months passed, the love between them only deepened. Gloria worked at the hospital, with compassion touching lives, with every patient she treated. Eric built businesses that thrived, but he never forgot the nights of hunger or the days of toil. Together, they gave back to the community, building scholarships for young girls who, like Gloria, had been told they were worthless. In their home, laughter filled the halls. Music played, prayers rose, and joy settled into every corner. When their baby was born, Eric held the tiny child with trembling hands and whispered, "You will never know the pain your mother carried. You will only know love." Gloria watched him and smiled. Her heart was full not of riches alone, but of love forged through trials. She had chosen loyalty over luxury, and in return she had gained both love and abundance. Standing one quiet evening on the balcony, with her husband's arm around her and their child asleep inside, she thought of the path she had walked. The dust of her father's yard, the bus ride filled with fear, the little room that had felt like heaven, the temptation she had refused, and the truth she had embraced. All of it had shaped her. All of it had led her here. She leaned against Eric and whispered, "Our better days are here." "Yes, my queen," he answered softly. "And step by step they will only grow brighter." The story of Gloria Johnson Williams did not end in shame or despair. It ended in triumph, in dignity, restored in a love that proved stronger than temptation and more powerful than wealth. True love is proven through trials, not comfort. Gloria's journey reminds us that loyalty and dignity shine brighter than wealth. Respect builds trust, trust grows into love, and love creates a legacy. Stand firm when tempted, stay loyal when tested, and blessings greater than riches will follow.